Uh-oh. Stinky poop. Poopies. Funny poopies. La 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 la. Funny poop. Poop funny. Woo!
Now I know what you're thinking. What, in the name of all that is holy, is this supposed to be? Would you believe me if I told you that was actually a pretty recent meme? As in, people made it a thing because they actually found it funny. It's kinda hard to believe, isn't it? Like, if you asked someone for the definition of a meme, they'd usually tell you it's a picture with text that makes it relatable, or it's a funny joke that's passed around the internet. I mean, they'd be right, but if that video I just showed you was any indication, it's clear they're not painting the whole picture. So, why? Why is this a thing? Who let this become popular? And the most common, what's so funny about this? Plenty of folks from the older generation have asked the same series of questions, and then they wondered to themselves, why do millennials and Generation Z kids have such weird senses of humor? Well, there's a lot of regular memes out there that are easy to understand and conventionally funny. Many of us find ourselves enjoying memes that could be loosely classified as absurdist, intentionally ironic, and just flat out weird to outside observers. Now, being part of the said generational group with an odd sense of humor, I am personally enthralled with this psychology behind comedy. I can't claim to be a professional or understand every single factor that makes these kinds of things funny to us, but I can tell you about the history of it all. The winding road of memes that led from this to this. The early 2000s. A decade of exploration and discovery. When the internet was going through a renaissance, and graphic designers had no idea what they were doing. Jesus, what is this? Awful designs aside though, it was a really fun time. Before the social media websites you know and love became the global hub for online self-expression, the internet was a new world that people explored and forged their own personal journeys in. Some found themselves on online forums discussing their favorite games. Others found game websites they took a liking to. Wherever it was, everyone found their own little happy places in this exciting, unknown universe. But at some point, we all eventually came across these things. Oh boy, where do I even begin with this? The first era of memes. Most of these were rather simple. Normally they were just funny concepts or funny pictures accompanied by funny text. But they absolutely took the internet by storm. Though the jokes were normally pretty average, what truly caused memes' claim to fame was their easily shareable nature. You'd find one, laugh, and then send it to friends who would hopefully laugh as well. It became a cycle, and one of the best early instances that showcased the internet's power to quickly connect people from across different places. Some memes even became so popular they even spawned their own little subcultures. One example would be the lolcats, which usually weren't even jokes at all. They were just pictures of cats doing weird things with a quote-unquote random caption. This is where the humor was derived. Cute cats being random, with the accompanying text usually being misspelled or having some kind of grammatical error. The popularity of this meme planted the idea in many that random equals funny, and it spawned a subculture of people talking like the cats in the memes. I look back at this time period fondly. It was a simple and happy time. But as time goes on, people change. The kids and teens that once found immense joy in these harmless memes grew into angsty preteens and jaded adults. They became more edgy and cynical. And since everything got archived on the internet, people could look on in horror at the person they used to be. They'd cringe at their past selves' personality and humor. Certain senses of humor and methods of speech began to be branded as cringe, and ridiculing things that were cringy became a popular trend on the internet. Mean-spirited as it was, it's an important chapter in the history of memes. So let's talk about the birth of cringe culture. It's the late 2010s, and the humor of the internet's denizens has matured. Or has it regressed? It's hard to say for sure, but the people on the internet right now seem hell-bent on seeming mature. They figured the way to do that would be to pick on people they deemed as immature. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the era of cringe culture. The top result in Urban Dictionary describes cringe culture as the culture started on the internet of making fun of people and or insulting them by calling them cringy or cringe for doing something which doesn't harm or somehow insult anyone or anything. Media that was popular on the internet, such as certain video games, became regular targets of cringe culture, since the popularity of said media usually drew kids to it, and it became known as immature. One of the most prominent figures in the era of cringe culture was a YouTuber by the name of Leafy is Here. His content revolved around finding people that could be deemed cringy, usually children, and creating videos making fun of them. Harmful as it was, it did end up getting him popular. At some point, he even became one of the most well-known channels on YouTube without ever changing his style of content. But how does this relate back to memes exactly? Well, around this time, the popularity of cringe culture gave rise to a fusion between memes and an ancient method of social commentary and making fun of things. Satirical memes were born. Popularized under the name ironic memes, it was actually quite a broad concept. One good example of an ironic meme would be joke fandoms. A direct quote taken from Know Your Meme states that joke fandoms refer to fandoms that have spawned to ironically overpraise material that others would see as humorless, crude, and dull. These fandoms were created as a satire of several internet fandoms that are commonly marked by over-obsession and zealous devotion, as well as a large internet presence on sites such as Tumblr. With one look at the kinds of memes joke fandoms spawn, you can probably already see the inspiration behind the weirder memes of today. Even as cringe culture faded from the mainstream and people began fighting back against the bullying that cringe culture created, ironic memes stayed and evolved. They shifted from criticisms of cringy things to criticisms of meme culture itself and the remnants of the era of cringe. Layers of satire and meta-humor became more and more prevalent in ironic memes, eventually also becoming the inspiration for surreal memes. The inspiration for surreal memes came from the usage of the layers of satire and irony that people have become so used to laughing at thanks to ironic memes. They're absurd in nature and artistically bizarre. One could say they're actually interesting deconstructions of contemporary internet comedy, instead of the dumb jumbled messes that they seem to be in the surface. Comedy is an ever-changing medium of expression. As dumb as we make these memes out to be, there's a lot of psychology and history that explains why this stuff is funny to us. Regardless, this is where the history of memes catches up to the present day. I'm personally excited for the kind of meta-humor that we'll be able to see in the future. Now, to end this off, I'd first like to show you a clip from my favorite YouTuber, ALPHARAD.
But the thing is, comedy has evolved so much in the sense that it hasn't.
I really do think there's a lot of truth in this. I mean, when you think about it, we really have just gone in a circle. I was laughing at this Doge meme in 2009. Here I am now, laughing at this Doge meme in 2019. The world works in mysterious ways, I suppose. It's almost comforting to know that we've come back to our roots. When you think about it, this cycle of comedy evolving so far that it goes back to its original state even traces back to the ancient Greeks. Even if the format's completely different, they still enjoyed satire as much as we do. I suppose what I'm getting at in the end is comedy's an incredibly fascinating topic. We often find things funny without even realizing why we find them funny. Despite all my attempts at reason, I can't claim to know everything about my own sense of humor. We've all just got our own different brands of comedy and things we find funny. And that's really the best part.